Sometimes we feel totally out of control. How do I get more control over my life and family? I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, a professional psychologist. I specialize in positivity and positive family relationships. When it comes to control, we have to understand this, that control equals freedom. And freedom is not free. There's two parts to this question. We'll address both of them today. Control of my own life and control of my family. Stick with me. Let's start with the all-important self-control. We don't control every aspect of our life, right? You've probably noticed that. You've been on the planet long enough to realize that some stuff just happens. You didn't choose it. You don't have any control over it, but you do get to deal with it. Self-control has to do with how we deal with the various aspects of our life, and it's tied to moral maturity. When I say moral maturity, I'm talking about a model that we developed for positive parenting that's based on control as it relates to maturity. I'm going to be referring to this model today as we have this discussion about control. Now, I'll provide you a copy of this. Grab the PDF version of this at the URL shown on your screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/stages, and I'll put this in your inbox. The thing that's important to remember about this model is that somebody has to have control over our life. So you'll see on the vertical axis is control, meaning control over your own life. It goes from 0 to 100%. On the bottom axis is maturity, and that basically means how grown up you are. So when you think about your kids, for example, when they're first born, how much control do they have over their own life? Hardly any. But by the time they're adults, we're hoping that they have all of the control. The other thing that this model does for us is it helps us to see how control is shared. So the part under the line is the control that you get for yourself. The part over the line is the part that other people take in your life. Go back to the kids for a minute. When they are babies, when they're just born, somebody has to be in control of their life because they're not mature enough to take it. Who is that somebody? It's you. It's the parent. That makes sense, right? But there's a lineup because there's three entities in line for the control. First is self. This is true for you. It's true for your kids. You get first crack at the control over your own life. Second in line is your parents. Okay, for the kids at least. Now, what about you as an adult? Well, who's third in line? The state, the authorities, the police, the courts, the government, the correctional facilities. We don't want it to go to that level. So part of my philosophy here on the channel, you'll see this as you watch our other videos. I want kids to be in control of themselves, to the extent that they are mature enough to do it. After that, I want parents to step up and take appropriate control based on how mature their kids are, because I don't want the state coming in. And I've been in that position. I've been in the unfortunate position of being the one who makes the phone call to invite the state to step in and take control because everybody else is out of control. That's the model, okay? So control is based on moral maturity. The more mature you are, the more control you get to have over your own life. Now let's take a minute and summarize briefly 3 stages of moral development. And these are on the model that I promised to send you. The stages have to do with how mature you are, and it doesn't have anything to do with age. It has to do with your moral reasoning. At stage 1, it's all about being selfish and self-centered. Okay, it's all about me, me, me. I don't care about other people. I tend to be very demanding and manipulative at stage 1. Sound familiar? Yeah, you're going to notice something after this conversation. You're going to notice that you are in one of these stages, and you're going to notice that everybody you're dealing with in your household is on one of these stages. Stage 2 is all about cooperation. If you'll just keep that in mind, I don't want any trouble. I want to keep the peace. I'm going to go along with reasonable requests, and I'm going to try to negotiate or work out a win-win solution. That's stage 2. Stage 3 is all about moral responsibility, taking charge of what you need to do, taking initiative, seeing what needs to be done and doing it. And that's what I mean by moral maturity. When we move to that end of the spectrum, we get to have more control. Freedom is not free. And thank you, all of you veterans, for your service. Freedom is not free. It comes at a price. And the personal price for freedom is moral responsibility. That is the key to understanding how to take a higher level of control over your own life. And it doesn't matter what's happening around you. You can watch the news, and there can be global pandemics, and there can be wars, and there can be riots, and you're still in control of you because of your moral decision making. Now, what does this have to do with our kids? Before I share with you what this has to do with kids, who do you know who needs to know this? Would you please bring them to your mind right now and share this video with them? Oh, and if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, now would be a great time to do it. Remember what I said about control being shared. When kids are too immature to control their own life, they have to have someone who is mature enough to step in and take the amount of control that they are not capable of taking on their own. This is where it comes to our family. We have to, as parents, have our own stuff in a pile to be morally mature enough that we can step in and take the amount of control that's needed for our kids. One of the setbacks that we encounter as parents is that we then get used to controlling our kids' lives. Well, as they grow and mature, they start to take control over their own life, and we're not always ready to share it by the time they're ready to take it on. If we don't share the control, they will take it at some point. They'll take over. They can fire you as a parent at some point. That might be alarming or disturbing to you, but let's just be real about it. You don't control your family. Yes, you have to take certain amounts of control based on their maturity, but we also have to be ready to adjust and flex. As our kids gain moral maturity, we have to share the control differently. This is why the model is so important to understand. On the weekends, I sometimes get involved in home improvement activities, and maybe you've done this as well. I'm a psychologist, not a plumber. And one of these jobs involved some plumbing, so I called my dad. He's pretty knowledgeable about this stuff. And I said, Dad, what do I need to know? He says, Paul, there's only 2 things you need to know about plumbing. 2 rules to plumbing. Rule number 1, water runs downhill. Oh, okay, kind of knew that, right? But it's also very helpful to remember when you're plumbing something. Rule number 2, don't lick your fingers. Now, Dad was joking about that, and I got a chuckle out of it as well. But it occurred to me that the same 2 rules apply when it comes to control of our families. Rule number 1, some things you control by nature, and other things you don't. Okay, that's rule number 1. That's the water runs downhill rule when it comes to our families. Rule number 2, this is the don't lick your fingers rule, okay? Rule number 2, pay attention to what you control. When you shift your focus over to what other people control and you get all uptight about those things, it creates conflict in the relationship. Pay attention to what you control. In fact, here's a little exercise that I have some of my families do in our coaching programs. Just make a T chart. You know what that is? You make a big capital letter T, okay? And at the top of the T, you write your name on one side and you write your kid's name on the other side. And then underneath that, you list all of the things that your kid controls on this side about their life, and all of the things that you control on this side about their life. And be creative about this. See what you can come up with. Their attitude, for example. Which side does that go on? It goes on their side. You don't control that. If you did, it would look different. How about your attitude? That goes on your side. Don't be confused and say that my attitude depends on my kid's behavior. It doesn't. You get to choose this. It's on your side. And you put everything that you can on those two lists. Here's where it ties back into appropriate discipline. When you're clear about what you control and what your child controls, then you'll notice something about these two lists. The things you're worried about are on their list, and the things they're worried about are on your list. This is good news because now we can create an economic transaction. Hey, you control these things in a way that I like, and I'll control these things in a way that you like. Think about that strategy as it relates to control. We're not trying to control or manipulate. In fact, what if we could shift our mentality over to influence? Think about that word, influence. And who has influence over you? What are those traits and characteristics? They're not trying to control your life. They inspire you by the ways that they show up for you in your life. That's the topic of a whole other video. But for purposes of control, if we could shift our focus from control over to influence, I think we're going to have a lot better outcomes. Hey, we've got new videos coming for you every week. I think you're going to really enjoy this next one about how you can reprogram your mind to stay strong and positive.